So now you're wondering, if the book of Enoch is actually canonical scripture, then how did this happen? Well, I think it's because we always look at the Old Testament from Judaism's perspective, instead of the ancient Aramaic roots the Bible was actually shaped in. So now let's go to Deuteronomy 26:5, where the prophet Abraham is called a wandering Aramean. An Aramean is someone from Aram. Aram in the modern day is called Syria. So Abraham was from Syria, but it says in the text he was a wandering Aramean. He lived in other places besides Aram, like Egypt and later Ur. Now, historically, if we look up what is the language of the Arameans, that language would be Aramaic. The Arameans are actually attributed to inventing Aramaic. And the Aramaic language is actually older than Hebrew, going all the way back to the 11th century BC. And I find it very interesting that the oldest copy of the book of 1 Enoch was actually found in ancient Aramaic. And I find this information very, very compelling, showing us that there may be an Aramaic tradition that goes back even further than Judaism. And from the text of 1 Enoch, it seems this Aramaic tradition is a lot more Christian in nature. If we look inside the Dead Sea Scrolls, where the oldest copy of 1 Enoch was found, there is another Aramaic text called the Genesis Apocryphon, which is a long-form version of Genesis that has extra text that isn't in our canonical scripture. And in the Genesis Apocryphon, 19, it says, I, Abraham, and they brought gifts to me and requested knowledge from me, and I read to them from the book of the words of Enoch. So this fragment found in the Dead Sea Scrolls in ancient Aramaic says that Abraham actually read the book of 1 Enoch. And to make it clear, the dialect of Aramaic that 1 Enoch was found in is Biblical Aramaic. The type of Aramaic Abraham would have read would have been a proto-form of it. But regardless, I believe as the Aramaic language evolved, so did the copies of 1 Enoch. We know that Enoch wrote books and he was the first to write with a pen. So after a while, these books had to have gotten old and aged out, and they would have made new copies as the language progressed throughout time. And this honestly has to be one of my most interesting finds ever. A fragment of the Dead Sea Scrolls saying that Abraham read Enoch.